This is SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. The National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. Buffalo Wild Wings. If it's game day, Buffalo Wild Wings is the place to be. Alltech Lansing. Just listen with Alltech Lansing, perfecting sound since 1927. And by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. Now your hosts, Nate Newton and Bobby Belt.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Cowboys Crosstalk. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 Through the Fan. Thank you to everybody joining us on 105 Through the Fan and on DallasCowboys.com. Tonight, I'm joined by Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com.
Yes.
As always, we've got the three-time Super Bowl champion and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton here with us. And our special guest tonight is a national champion, an All-American, a former first-round draft pick. It is George Teague.
Let that man cook. Let him cook. Man. Go off, George. Go off.
I gotta bring it back a little bit.
George, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And I guess before we get into some of the backstory and some of your career path, we know you ended up at the University of Alabama, so would you like an opportunity to talk to massive Georgia Bulldogs fan Patrick Walker here? And then would you like to explain yourself for what happened against Vanderbilt last weekend?
I feel like you wanted to go straight to the Vandy, but
I
since he was
And I'm
here,
totally fine with that. I feel like you should start off with that and end with that.
no, I'm gonna go ahead and start with this Georgia thing. Yes, sir.
Because
man,
of
that
course.
was nothing more exciting than that. Just to be able to truly play on that kind of stage and see the success you have. It was a great football game. I was at the game, and I really thought we were going to lose. I had too many emotions at that game. But then you get to the Vandy game, bro, I'm still shook by it. I made a mistake and watched the film again today, and that's it. I didn't let go. I made a mistake of going past 24 hours with that Vandy game.
Does it make you feel any better, or is there any comfort in the fact that now it's that 12-team playoff, and you feel like, hey, you know what? One loss isn't what one loss used to be. Or does it still?
No, because this is a bad loss. That is a loss to a Vanderbilt team that we shouldn't have lost to. So 12 teams, 18 teams, you don't want – I'm looking at this – that hat he got on, I know it's a Cowboys hat, but it just seems like a little
Vandy.
a little Vandy thing in here.
This may or may not have been intentional. And Bobby knows my level of petty.
Got me a little shook sitting over here.
It's not so bad, but like we mentioned, you did end up at the University of Alabama, had a great career there, where a very decorated career. I want to start off first. Just talk to us about your kind of career path up through high school and what led you to ending up at the University of Alabama.
Yeah, well, most people think that I actually grew up in Alabama all my life, and that's not what happened. My dad was in the military. We just ended up moving to Alabama when I was in 9th grade. So my love for Alabama or any school in that area kind of started happening then. They recruited me the best. I really thought I was going to go to Auburn, Georgia Tech, something of that nature.
Wow.
Took the trip to Auburn. Absolutely hated it when I took the trip. I was ready.
What is it that you didn't like about Auburn?
Because it's Auburn.
Thank you.
Wow.
Isn't
From a
that
Georgia fan.
No, they asked me, what did you want to do? You've been on a recruiting trip.
Right.
I'm young or whatever, and they said, well, here's the things that we can do. We can go to Tuskegee to go party, or we can go out here and do a little bit of cow tipping. And I said, you know what? I'm out on this deal. I'm not from the South, and I don't even know what cow tipping is.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
anyway.
War Eagle just didn't roll off the tongue quite like Roll Tide did.
You see that? No, and you're saying War Eagle, and that just sent shockwaves through my body. I like that Vanderbilt
As
loss.
it should.
I don't like that. But that ended up, Bill Curry was there as the head coach, and he did a tremendous job of recruiting my whole family to go there. So after I took my trip to Alabama, I committed to.
I think that you have the distinction of quite possibly in college or professional sports, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have the distinction of having the most important consequential play that didn't count in the history of football when you were at Alabama with the strip. When Miami, Lamar Thomas is streaking down the sideline.
Yes.
You guys had jumped off sides. So if Lamar Thomas scores, then they just decline the penalty. It's whatever. But you ended up racing him down. It's one of the most famous high motor, high effort plays we've ever seen. You chase him down, get the strip. And like I said, it ends up not even counting. But it wipes what would have been a touchdown off the board, a Sugar Bowl game that you guys ended up winning. Talk about just that play, what you were seeing as it was developing, and that motor right there that everybody nationally became familiar with in that moment, that became kind of your calling card throughout your career.
Okay, and I will do that. But I need to make sure that you guys talk about this on one of your shows, that did the play really not count? It's not on the book, but did it really not count?
No, it 100% counts.
Does it not count? Everybody say, you made the greatest play that didn't count. What does that mean?
It doesn't go into the box.
Count.
It doesn't go into the play-by-play log, but it absolutely counts because it took a touchdown off the board.
It happened. Yes.
Yes, it did.
Okay, but thinking of it when you get into the play, man, Nate, I don't know if you would ever tell the truth and say that you were loafing on a play, but I was actually loafing on it. And that caused problems. I just ran the touchdown back a little while earlier, got beat up by all the fans or all of my teammates, so I was gassed. Next series, we go back out. I'm tired, right? So we're playing two-man. Corner has him man-to-man. I'm thinking we got some pretty good corners. He's going to make the play until Gina Toretta threw a dime to this guy, and I looked, and I was not deep enough in my half coverage because I was a safety. And so I had flashbacks or thoughts of, at that time they could rip your face mask off your helmet. The coach could when you get, it was a little bit different back then. And worried about what my teammates would think if this guy goes for a long touchdown. So instinctively, I went to track form. I put the hands right. I'm going cheek to cheek. I'm going cheek to cheek. I'm doing all this. I got my nice cycle with the legs. And so that was all out of fear, honestly. And once it got there, then it was back to technique. Strip the ball, knock it out, something, and it just had a little bit of luck and it came back up my face and went the other way.
We are talking with George Teague here on Cowboys Crosstalk, which you're listening to on 105 through the Fan and DallasCowboys.com. If you have any questions for George, you can text them into us, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. Nate, I'm curious, when you see a play like that, a big effort play like that.
I saw that play.
And when you see that happen on your side of the field, and it's one of your teammates pulling off a play like that, how much does that bring juice to the entire rest of the roster and carry over into the following plays after that and what you guys are trying to do?
You can't explain it. It's a thrill and excitement, and especially from a guy, had that much speed. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like he had track speed, but all of a sudden it turned. He remember all how he trained him to run. Let me be perfect, Lord. Let me be perfect.
Kicked off my knee braces. Kicked off my knee braces.
But hey, was that bigger than the T.O. defending the star?
That was pretty big, and that was. I guess that wasn't technically a play.
Okay,
but it was. It was
Neither
absolutely.
one of them were, according to you guys. Neither one of them were playing. So what are we talking about?
No, they
I got two incidents that happened.
No, two massive, big-time contributions that are absolutely critical in both respects, and we'll definitely circle back to the T.O. thing. Let's talk about getting out of Auburn. You had mentioned you were just talking about their playing safety, and that's what people became familiar with at the NFL level. You actually got to Alabama as a corner. Initially.
Yes.
Ended up switching positions. Talk about how that transition went for you, the conversations that said, hey, let's try you out at safety, and how you felt in terms of your comfort level. Yeah,
so I went in as a corner, got recruited as a corner. Absolutely loved it. Thought that's what I was going to be the whole time. And it wasn't really a talk about it. It was kind of, I think they're humbly saying, that I had some range. And so they started sticking me back in the nickel packages as a safety to try to cover more ground. That happened my junior year. So I actually played both my junior year, corner and safety, depending on the package. Actually, then I still played more corner even my senior year a little bit.
What was your 40 time like? What was your 40 time for the
So
combine?
on my pro day, because I didn't run the combine,
okay,
I ran a 4.41.
Wow.
Yes.
Some would say still fast.
Someone would say 4.3 and some change, but the one that officially went down on the book was a It's
4-4
4-1.
speed, baby.
So I think that's
Wow.
where I kind of had the both while I was fast enough to play corner. So then I got drafted as a corner, too, to Green Bay. I still got drafted as a cornerback, and that's why I started until about 4 games into it. The safety just wasn't covering ground.
He
so
wasn't George Teague.
So they just said, hey, and literally, I'll never forget this, really just threw me in the game, the safety, and said, you got it, go. In the middle of the game against the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh, I was terrified. I didn't know, man, you talking about making calls. The teammates was like, calm down, man, what are you doing? I was like, boy, I don't know what I'm doing. They just threw me out here.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's talk a little bit more about that career trajectory, your time in Green Bay, that transition over, but then specifically getting here to the Dallas Cowboys and bursting onto the scene with one of the more remarkable playoff performances that we've seen here in the last several years in Dallas. George Teague joining us tonight on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back here on 105 Through the Fan and DallasCowboys.com.
Go Cowboys! Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 Through the Fan. Thank you for joining us here on 105 Through the Fan, as well as DallasCowboys.com and all of their social platforms. I'm joined tonight by Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com. We've got the 3-time Super Bowl champ and 6-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton. And tonight we are joined by the one and only George Teague, who had 2 of the most important plays that counted in the history of both Alabama and the Dallas Cowboys. George, we were talking about how you started out in Green Bay and you were playing corner, made the shift over to safety mid-game against the Vikings. You get to Dallas in 1996, and one of your big, coming out just, hey, George Teague is here and making a name for himself, was a game against the Minnesota Vikings. It was the wild card round where I don't know that we've ever seen since somebody force a turnover on 3 straight possessions the way George Teague did in this one, punching the ball away from Amp Lee. I think you stripped Leroy Horde on the next, and then you had a pick 6 on the very next drive and a big wild card win for the Cowboys. How gratifying was it in that game to just, did you feel especially locked in? And when you ended up having the game that you did you kind of feel like, hey, this is the culmination of a lot of what I've been aiming for in my career?
Those are those moments where you, what do you call it when you're in the zone? You just get in that thing, and it's something that you always seek as an athlete to try to get in that zone where everything just happens right. But it also helps when you're kind of playing for a contract and you've been traded and cut, and you're trying to prove something to everybody too. So, it all just kind of worked out that, when you score a touchdown, good Lord, on defense and secondary, it just takes you to a whole nother level. So that was definitely one of my favorite moments or favorite game in the pros. A lot of people think about Terrell Owens or something else, maybe when I had an interception return in Green Bay for the record for 101 yards, but that game.
So why did you have to, emphasize for the record? I mean,
because it still stands after. Because it still stands.
I always known you to be a humble guy, man.
Oh, I am, but you know what?
but that counted.
That one counted. That was in the books. Everything else, nothing else happened. This is the one that I can actually say happened. Yeah. But anyway, it's just when you come to and I got to give a shout out to a lot of the Cowboy players. Nate Newton, right, in particular, Dan Woodson, Kevin Smith. All right,
yes,
because once I got to Dallas, as good as I thought I was, I knew I wasn't there, but I had teammates that gave me little tidbits of just how to be a little bit better once I got here. And that's why I love the Cowboys so much. Not outside of the organization and what Jerry done for me and all that stuff. It's the players who are in the locker room that welcomed me, in their own type of way. Charles Haley, too, as much as he got me and talked about my clothes, my haircut, and everything else that he could. But it was all out of love, and they helped me become a better player, and that's why I love playing here for the Dallas Cowboys.
Nate, you were there playing in that game that day against Minnesota. Do you remember just thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? How is he just coming up with play after play? Had you ever seen anything like that when you'd been on a football field?
I've seen Deion do great things, but not with that type of consistency, this big play after big play. You've seen Charles take over games, but not the way that's a performance of a lifetime. Have you ever since then seen a player do what he did?
No. Not like that.
Not like that.
And on the stage that.
I don't know if it's a Bama thing. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
It is.
I think it's despite.
I think it's the SEC thing.
I think it's despite the Bama, right?
Now, but I'm going to have to ask this, and it's kind of out of line, and I know but did they drug test you the next day?
As a matter of fact, they did.
Because they would nowadays.
Anytime you do something good, I'm like, really? I hadn't been tested my whole time in the league. Now all of a sudden I got to get up early in the morning and don't
spectacular.
Come on, bro.
I'm telling you, when you do something spectacular, the league is coming out. We need to see you.
You mentioned there, when you got here and all the little tips and tidbits you got. We were talking to Rocket Ishmael a couple weeks ago, and Rocket had said when he first got here, he's like, oh, man, culture difference is just insane in terms of their expectation of winning and excellence and, guys holding each other accountable. When you got here, did you notice that jump too? Did you feel like, oh, wow, this is just a different standard across the board for these guys?
Yeah, instantly. And I played for a good organization in the Green Bay Packers, and they were accustomed to certain things, and we were kind of on our way up. A lot of stuff in the community and all that, but here it was different. And it was in a good way, too. You still got all the community and all that, but the excellence that was demanded by the team and by the staff, by ownership, was not like anything I had ever experienced before.
I don't know what got you here. What brought upon the trade, or what what got you here? What did you want out? Did they say advantage? What got you here?
Oh, man. All right, I'll wrap this up as fast as I can, right?
You got time.
But Green Bay, I did not know that I was on the trading block for Green Bay. So apparently they wanted me out of there. And they actually traded me to the Atlanta Falcons. I got that call 24 hours before my flight to Atlanta from Ron Wolf. He said, hey, I just want to let you know before you see it on ESPN, you've just been traded to the Atlanta Falcons. Click, that's basically what it was. And I was kind of a little angry about that. And then 3 weeks later, I got cut by the Atlanta Falcons. So I was a free agent at that point. This is why I love Jerry Jones, and you guys will love this story quickly. He actually called me with Dave Campo on the phone, and Jerry asked me, hey, George, what the bleepity bleep is wrong with you, and why are you on the market? That was his first question to me on the phone. That was my first deal, and I cursed back at him, and I said, there's nothing to bleepity bleep wrong with me, and I don't know why I'm out here on this. And this after I've already had bad attitude with other teams because I really didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I wasn't keen to the business aspect of contracts, how much you're worth, and all that kind of stuff. And so in the end, Jerry Jones said, well, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. This is on a Friday. He said, you're going to fly in here. You're going to pass this physical. If you pass the physical, you're going to play in the last preseason game, the whole game at safety because you're the best safety out there. And if you do what you need to do, you'll be the fifth guy, the nickel safety to go in. So I flew in, passed the physical. I played the whole doggone game. Another story about that later. But that's how I ended up here at the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
And I was only here for the 1 year, if you remember. So I only signed a 1 year deal. Then I went to the Dolphins, didn't get along with Jimmy Johnson, got the call back from the Cowboys, and came back for another 4 years.
Yeah, it was a direct swap basically because you came back to Dallas. Brock Marion went to Miami.
Yep.
Took over there, and you come back to Dallas. And obviously the thing we put out the question a few minutes ago for anybody who had some questions for George Teague, they could send in a note on the fan text. And the one that we're getting consistently here is, how did it feel to smack Terrell Owens? How great was it to hit Terrell Owens? And obviously that was a big pivotal moment of you not only just stepping up and defending this team and this organization and this
star,
brand.
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Out there on the football field. I'm sure you've told the story 1,000 times, but just in general, talk to us about the thought process throughout that game, the disrespect you guys felt on that sideline, and when you determined I'm doing this, or if it was even a determination and just a reaction.
Well, yeah, so some of us are a little bit prideful, and I'm a little bit prideful. I don't like losing. I don't like playing the Heat losing. We were on that old raggedy turf and other stuff, so just nothing was right at that time. And me and Terrell Owens had some good banter, He was telling me about my mom. I was telling him about his mom. And it just led up to him just being totally obnoxious. Goes out to the star. Emmett does his thing. And so at this point now, on the particular play where he scores a touchdown and runs out, I knew he was going to score the touchdown. So I was watching out the corner of my eye. I was on the other side, and I'm going, what is this idiot about to do after he scores his touchdown? So I had no idea. I didn't think he was going to go back to the star, but I just figured he was going to do something. So when he took off, it's like I almost just kind of blacked out, like, oh, come on.
Love it, though.
So then I went, and it's the way it had it, that it timed up that I met him right there at the right moment. And it felt good, too, man. Felt better when I dodged the lineman that tried to hit me. I was glad I was taking a little bit of taekwondo at that point. I could get duck underneath because I probably would have died. But, that was a moment where it was just pride in your team, pride in you think of all this stuff. We're talking about Alabama losing to Vanderbilt, Georgia losing to Alabama, whatever it is. It's just some pieces that you just have to stand up. You don't let people put their foot up on your coffee table.
Right.
You just don't do it. I was raised that way. You don't do that. Get your foot off my table, man. I'm not doing this. I told you one time. You want to do it again, you got to get out.
Yeah. You know what, Reck? You've had so many big moments.
Iconic moments.
I've never had that type of big moment besides as a team winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But you've had so many great individual moments, man.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's just I don't know. I think what I learned from several coaches, including Mike Zimmer, was setting yourself up to make plays, the way that you study. And this started back in college, reading tendencies. And this one we used to have books.
Right.
With paper in it, and you had to go through it, not the little exos
tablets,
and all this kind of tablets and all that. You had to look and study. So I would always try to find a tendency, and I would tell my wife, she's very much big into football, and any fan is watching you, I said, I'm going to give you the signal when I know I'm going to make the play. Because I would know when the formation came, what formation, whatever it was, when I was going to take a calculated risk. That's my word. That's when I was going to gamble, that I need to be able to go at that moment, because you don't get those chances in games. So I would always try to find out, and Zim hated it. You gambling, George? I was like, no, this is the tendencies you gave me. 95% of the time when they line up like this, they throw it to him. I'm abandoning ship, and I'm going over there, and that's what I would do. And so a lot of it was just maybe I wasn't in the right spot, but it would turn into big plays.
Wow.
It's something where I think everybody here sitting listening to George Teague tell these stories, and we appreciate George for joining us here tonight on Cowboys Crosstalk. I think everybody hearing this is like, wow, the way he talks about the game, the way he analyzes it, and the storyteller he is. Has this ever been, I know you've done some stuff, pregame shows and different things like that. Has this ever been anything that you thought like, oh, man, I can do some of this stuff and I enjoy doing it? I know you love coaching and you've done a lot of that, but have you ever thought about like, man, I'd like to, kind of dabble in that part of it too, or do some extra stuff there?
I have. I had two choices, I think, when I got done playing pro football, was either to go in the media side or go into coaching. I went into coaching. But I got this little itch of trying to do the media thing, and I just happened to get a call from CBS that said, hey, we want to give you an opportunity if you want to take it. So I absolutely love doing this on Sundays on CBS, the Cowboys Game Day with Bill Jones and Isaiah Stanback, Bree. I mean, it's so good because it keeps me close to the game. I like watching film still, breaking it down, scribbling, pretending like I'm the coach and like I know everything that's going on. So I've totally enjoyed this, and that's why I like coming doing this stuff with you guys.
And you got to do, we've made so many, points about Alabama and the fact that they lost to Vanderbilt, George. I think we've underlined that pretty effectively today.
Yeah, we have.
That didn't count. The one against Georgia didn't count.
But you're still a big SEC guy, I'm sure, and a fan of the conference and things like that. I believe you got a chance to kind of go check out some stuff at the SEC Media Days earlier this year.
You know what? I did. It's my first time going. People always ask, did you go as a player? No. I don't even know if we had SEC Media Days back then, or I wasn't good enough to be invited to go sit on the panel anyway at that time. But you know what I learned when I got there was that you guys are different.
What do you mean?
Well, this is like, as a player – it was the first time that I actually had to try to fight for the interview. To get in there, there's so many people there, and, I'm having to call, who is the person that can get me next to Jalen Milroe? I need to have that 2 questions. Right. Can I get him by myself for a minute? And, man, I just felt, I don't know, I kind of felt kind of a little dirty. I'm like, man, I'm over here. I just can't walk up and be like, hey, Nate, let me ask you something, because they got their little entourage and they pull them along. And so it was kind of fun but different, to be able to say, hey, he said, hey, we're going to walk out this way. Make sure you stand right by that corner. And before we go to the Huntsville station, we're going to you got 2 questions. Get it in. So, here I am with my little cell phone, my little notepad, and I'm going, man. So, just a little bit different. Come from my side, have to be on the media.
I think every media member has, like, top 99% tricep strength just from the extended holding it there. That shoulder. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Like, this is always really in good shape. Nothing else below that for me, but I mean, right there, I'm in good shape. We're talking with George Teague tonight here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. When we come back, we're going to put the analyst George Teague to work a little bit, get his thoughts on the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, we were joined by George Teague tonight, Nate Newton, and Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com. We'll be right back here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Go Cowboys!
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC to learn more and start your next adventure. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 The Fan, joined by Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com. We got the three-time Super Bowl champ and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton here with us as well, as always. And tonight we are joined by George Teague. And George, we just got a text in from one of our listeners over at 105 The Fan. They said the 940 says, I graduated from Bowie High School and attended George Teague's Making of Champions football camp twice. Awesome camp and awesome guy. So some kudos there for the coaching and building up of men that George Teague has done throughout his career. And now we're going to get George Teague to analyze a little bit of football for us and look back and then look forward. Let's take a look at this Pittsburgh game. Cowboys win this one 20-17. And really, I think if you look back over the Cowboys in the last 3 to 4 years, a lot of these games that they've won, people maybe feel like finesse. You kind of blow the doors off of people when you win, and when adversity hits and some of these tougher, more physical football games hit, a lot of times those are games that the Cowboys have dropped in the past. That was not the case this weekend, where there was a lot of adversity that hit, some of it self-inflicted, but a lot of adversity that hit throughout the game, and the Cowboys came back, responded, didn't let it break them, even in the face of injuries and trouble and all sorts of things. So I just want to kind of go around the table over here, starting with George. Your just thoughts on that resolve that the Cowboys showed, and do you feel like you learned anything new about this specific football team winning a game like that in Pittsburgh?
I did, and I immediately tweeted out after the game that the Cowboys actually showed me something there, because I wasn't expecting them to win, and particularly when you had another injury quite early with Nealon. Yeah. You know, I just thought, oh, man, we're about to fall apart, you know, and it just – to see them continue to fight and battle the whole time. I did not know what the defense was going to look like. I was worried about, you know, was Mike Zimmer going to have these guys ready to play on defense? You know, and I've never really been like that. I felt like it was going to be a battle that would be in a tough game, but I didn't think we'd win it at the end.
I agree. I think that when you talk about the Cowboys' victory in Pittsburgh, that's a game that they typically lose, right? That's a game where so much has gone wrong before the game with the injuries to Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, and even with the rain delay. Right? Yeah. And then you get into the game, and first defensive drive of the game, you lose Marshawn Nealon, who was a key in stepping up in the absence of Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence, so they were going to look to him to be one. Now you're looking at, okay, wow, now we're without our top three guys. We already don't have Sam Williams on the field because of the torn ACL. You're thinking to yourself, the Cowboys have all the reasons in the world to just concede mentally. But instead, Chauncey Golston, Tyrus Wheat, Carl Lawson, those guys stepping up. Linval Joseph, he looked like he turned the clock back 10 years in that game, you know, exploding blockers in front of him to create sack fumbles and things like that. And even then, they had more reasons because they had self-inflicted wounds, 11 penalties. That can't continue to happen on the road, right? And then go fast forward to the end of the game. Rico Dowdle, he's having a fantastic game, a career game even, and then he leaps over the line and he fumbles the ball, and in that split second, what Cowboys are we going to see? Is this how the Cowboys lose? Because typically, if all else fails, that's how they're going to lose that game. Dak Prescott, who didn't have the best game himself, he falls on that to give them another shot. Fast forward a couple plays, fourth down, one more play to win it.
Jalen Tolbert.
You
know what state he's from, right?
Tolbert?
Yeah.
Okay. He's from one of the Georgia neighbors. One of those Georgia neighbors is where he's from. Yeah,
Nate,
yeah.
I happen to note it. One of my general rules over the last couple of years, I think, is just show me how dirty the jerseys are at the end of the game, how dirty the uniforms are at the end of the game, and I can tell you with some likelihood, I think, if the game was won or not. This was a dirty jersey game, a dirty uniform game that they fought, and they showed a lot of resolve. And I know last year talked specifically about, I need meaner, I need tougher on this football team. Do you feel like you got some more of that on Sunday night?
Yes, we truly did. I felt warm. And
it's not just the fire behind us.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I was ready to jump on anybody that was going to say, yeah, but. I wasn't having that.
Yeah.
When Monday came, I done stayed up to 3, 4 in the morning. Y'all done got off that plane. You
5,
done,
6
all
a.m.
of us here,
Man.
we had to suffer through that.
We
We
did.
getting into bed after 2 o'clock. Y'all after 5 o'clock.
The sun was up.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
We have always finesse this, especially me. What are we going to do when a team is equal or better than us in talent? And we fought. And that's – thank you. And my hat's off to Mike McCarthy. He kept calling the plays no matter what. He kept calling. Rico Dowdle, you had that bad move at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Interception, Rico Dowdle. Fumble, Rico Dowdle. He was just the calming effect. You know, something go wrong, just hand it to Rico Dowdle. End of the game, we normally give it to Dak. Let Dak put it in Dak. Rico Dowdle.
I think
Rico
we
Dowdle.
needed to see
and
that.
I love
You did.
that.
And it was also it was the role player stepping up. I mean, when you get a guy like it's a critical drive, Cowboys got to have it. Here's Hunter Lipke. With a critical play on the third down, and then you give it to Jake Ferguson, and he extends it more. But, I mean, to see physicality is the big thing here, because a couple of times this season, and DeMarvion Overshown spoke on it after the win against the Giants. He said, we're football players, but we're human. We see that, you know, we're watching TV and we're being called soft and things like that. They took that to heart. The Pittsburgh Steelers make their name on being able to bully opposing teams. Meanwhile, the Cowboys have typically, like you said, Bobby, they've been the finesse team. They're either blowing out a team, and if they're not blowing out the team and it's close, they're probably going to lose. Well, they marched right into the Steel City, undermanned on both sides of the ball. And then when you look at how Jordan Lewis was getting under George Pickens' skin and those receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was Jordan Lewis, that defense, Dak Prescott, that offense, they were the bullies against the Pittsburgh Steelers and that Mike Tomlin culture, which is a rollover of the Bill Cowher culture and Dolan. So, the Cowboys, if they continue to be the bullies, and these are the kinds of wins that pay off when you get to the playoffs.
Clean up the penalties, like you said.
Yeah.
Clean up the penalties.
Yeah. Clean up the penalties. Yeah, that's got to happen.
Yeah, they got to clean up the
That's what's killing their offensive drives.
Yeah.
Because they can move the ball.
We keep talking about Rico, but he has some great runs and all that kind of stuff. But what I really enjoyed the most out of it was the pass that he caught. A lot of times you see in running backs, you know, catch a screen passes, which he did a week ago, you know, going in for a touchdown. But having him lined up in the slot and actually doing what he did to the safety, getting open. Yeah, you can say he tripped or whatever, but it was see, you know, he kind of leaned into him, gave him the stuff, and I know he talked about it after the game, saying that that's not exactly the route that he was supposed to run, but it didn't matter. It was body control, just to want just to be able to do that, and that meant
understanding how he caught the ball and got his body up underneath that ball,
so he wouldn't have to fight the ground for the ball, and maybe it bounces off and they lose that touchdown. So phenomenal control.
That's mat drills right there.
That's what that is.
High school mat drills.
That's what that is.
You know, I want to ask both George and Nate both sides of this question here. So, Philip Tanner, former Cowboys running back, local Dallas area guy, and somebody who was a coaching assistant on the team a few years back. I remember he and I were talking. He's coaching over at Burleson High School now. I remember I'd asked him, I'd said, you know, they're reached a point where, like, is Zeke's sufficiency there anymore? What does he bring? And he goes, man, you have no idea what Zeke's physicality, when Zeke is doling it out, even if it's 4 yards or 5 yards, you have no idea the juice that brings to this side over here, that like how it just brings everybody together. He's like, and you have no idea how demoralizing it is on the defensive side when somebody's just hitting you and running you over and just wearing you down. So Rico Dowdle, it felt like, was doing a little bit of that too in this game, where it's just, hey, we're committed to this and we're going to get those tough yards and we're going to bully you. George, talk about from the defensive side that thought and that concept of just somebody running on you over and how much that can just drain you. And then, Nate, how you feel like you maybe get a boost of that on the offensive side.
I want to talk about that from both perspectives.
Yeah.
From me sitting on the bench watching a running back take over and, you know, making sure that the drives keep going. It is a big boost for you on defense saying, one, that guy is doing his thing or the offense is doing his thing. We need to step up ours, so I guess there's that piece of it. And when you see a guy getting folded up, getting a tough yard, it elevates you as a player on defense to say, man, this guy's getting hit. You know, I need to do a little bit more. So I think when you have someone like Rico that's doing that, getting the tough yardage, making things, it lifts everybody up.
I mean, it's just a dominance thing. I mean, as you you know, you get 2 yards, 1 yard, and we always try to hammer against the wall. People don't like to hammer against the wall. I've been begging for you. You heard what I said last week. So we got to run the ball 30 times. People, oh, man, that's running against the wall. Yes, run against the wall because you keep chipping, especially strategic spots, all of a sudden the dam going to break and everything going to float, and that's what happened. They just kept – and you can see the body language of their defensive linemen. They wasn't coming as quick as they were. They kind of hesitated. Now, if they catch it, that means you got momentum as offensive lineman. And then when the young fella went down, Guyton, and they moved Ty out there, and they brought in Bass. Bass, first 2 or 3 series, it took him a minute because they jammed him up.
Yeah.
But after that, he got into the flow, and they just started moving like a wave. Now, I'm not saying that they need to leave it like that because the young fella got to get his reps.
He'll be back.
But that is the way to do it. And I know we jumping out of character, but that is how Detroit does it.
I'll tell you what's going to be interesting. What will be interesting is, and to your point, McCarthy himself said that the goal is to get at least 30 carries on the ground. That's his goal. So he was like, how many did we have after the game? And we were like 31, 32. And he was like, okay, great. And so that's his goal. But it will be interesting to see how this running back committee, how fluid it is over the course of 17-plus games. Because right now, it started out with Zeke as the starter in Cleveland. Okay, it's now graduated to Rico as the starter, and Rico is catching his stride. But it's a long season, and we know Zeke, he still has some juice, but he's not a spring chicken, right? So is this a situation where, as if Rico begins to kind of wear down just a little bit in November, early December, now you kind of slide that scale more so to Zeke to take the load off of Rico so that maybe once you get to the playoffs, because I believe they will, now you have 2 fresher backs than they would be if you were just riding a bell cow the entire season.
I just think Zeke has to be patient and has to keep his spirit up. You're talking about a guy that's eating a lot because I'm talking about inside. He's a competitor. Yeah, he's a competitor. So he has to see it, the big picture, like you are seeing it, like I'm seeing it, like you are seeing it. It's the play the long game. Play the long game because, my friend, it comes a point where you're going to need 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and nobody does it better than Zeke.
That's going to your question that you're asking, that what does that do on the defense when you can't stop people from running? It hurts. It is demoralizing when you cannot stop someone from.
And the Cowboys.
It doesn't even have to be big plays. It's if they're getting 3-4 yards of chunk and it's first down, and all of a sudden it's 9 plays, 10 plays, 12 plays. And you're like, God, dog.
Yeah.
You know,
the boys in the back be screaming.
How do we get off the field? You know,
is y'all gonna tackle anybody?
Yeah, come on, linebackers, let's get downhill. Let's do this. Hey, you got to get some double teams up there, man. They run. I don't need to be tackling these dudes every single play in the secondary.
Because now they're making you stack the box. now they're bringing you down to stack the box.
Yeah,
it's more single high.
Around Larry Allen and them dudes coming. Now they chipping up to me. No, bro, that's not what I get paid for.
You mentioned Larry Allen there, and we're about to take our break, and then we'll come back and talk about the Lions. But you mentioned in Larry Allen there. That demoralizing aspect reminds me of a story Antonio Pierce told, who's now the coach of the Raiders, used to be a linebacker, obviously, for the Giants, where he said that Larry Allen used to have that dip in his mouth. He said he'd spit dip to the spot that he was going. He'd let you know, I'm going right here. I'm going to come block you. And he said, you have no idea how demoralizing it is to go against a unit that is telling you, I'm going to be right here. And I'll tell you where we're going. We're just going to do this, and we're going to assert ourselves. And that seems like something that the Cowboys got a real big benefit for. We're joined by George Teague tonight. We're going to wrap things up. One more segment to go here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. When we come back, we're going to preview this Lions game a little bit, another game that very well could be a physical, run the ball down your throat type of game, and how the Cowboys can respond to that. That's next here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC to learn more and start your next adventure. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 through the Fan, joined by Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com. We got the three-time Super Bowl champ, six-time Pro Bowler, future Hall of Famer Nate Newton. Yeah. And we're also joined tonight by our special guest, George Teague, who they're loving over on the 105 through the Fan text this evening. They're loving all the storytelling and analysis. As we head into this game with the Detroit Lions, before we get into some analysis, Pat, just reset for us what the injury report looked like today. I know that Eric Kendricks popped up on it. He did not practice, and then there was also Nick Vigil, two guys who typically use the headset when Kendricks goes out. You got green dot with Nick Vigil. So just reset the injury situation for us.
Well, we're talking about adversity, right? Well, that adversity train is not slowing down right now for the Cowboys. We'll see how the rest of this week plays out. Obviously, they're going to have their heaviest practice on Thursday in Shells. They got practice on Friday, walkthrough on Saturday. But like you said, Eric Kendricks, he did not participate in Wednesday's practice with a calf and shoulder issue. Nick Vigil, he did not participate as well. Nick is dealing with a foot issue. So we'll monitor those over the course of the remainder of the week. But you're probably, if one or both of those guys miss, you're going to have to get more reps out of a guy like Damone Clark. His reps have kind of been dwindling as Mike Zimmer gets DeMarvion Over shown more reps in the base packages, already works a lot in the sub packages. Maris Leofau, he's getting out there a lot. But you're going to need more from Damone Clark if one of these two guys can't go. Positive news, though, Deron Bland, his 21-day practice window was opened today. So the Cowboys have until October 30th to either put him on the active roster or he reverts to season-ending IR. But by all accounts, whether you're talking to Mike McCarthy, who is framing it a little bit differently than what Stephen Jones is framing it as, Stephen said that Deron Bland has a great chance of playing against the Detroit Lions. Mike McCarthy said, we're going to take this one day at a time. However it stands, I don't think that Deron Bland needs to wait until October 30th. Talked to Jordan Lewis today. Jordan Lewis said in Deron's first team practice today, or his first team practice since late August, he almost had an interception. So he's out there pulling a George Teague right now. So that's the good news, is that we could finally, as early as this Sunday against the Lions, see Jordan Lewis, Trayvon Diggs, and Deron Bland on the field at the same time.
Let's go!
And no better time than when you're talking about going against Jared Goff and this receiving core and Sam Laporta at tight end for the Lions.
Yeah, this is a tough Detroit Lions team coming to town. They're coming off a bye week. You're coming off a very physical late-night road game in Pittsburgh.
Adversity.
And this is a Lions team that loves to run the football, play tough physical football, and a Lions team looking for some revenge after they felt a little upset with how things were officiated at the end of last year's game against the Cowboys.
You shouldn't have went for two or whatever it was.
Or declare the guy eligible.
It's that simple.
That's right.
George, what are you looking forward to in this game against the Lions?
Man, you just hit this, and both of you guys hit on it. It's what you need to know is that when they get in the red zone, they love to run that 12 personnel, which means you're going to have to stack up this one running back, two tight ends, create an extra running gap. So we got to be thick up there in the line. The safety's going to have to be around, because that's 30% of the time they're doing that. They're trying to run the ball. That's a lot of percentage. So I'm looking forward to see how Mike Zimmer does run pressures to try to force them into situations to throw the ball. Yeah, I know they got Amon Ross, St. Brown, and my boy Jameson Williams. But we can't let that two-headed monster get free by running the ball up and down the field.
Nate, what are you looking forward to?
Well, my crack check there. I want a physical game.
Yeah.
I said every week, I think this is a soft rebuild for the Cowboys. Detroit has a great team. They play, great offense through the run game. They got Aiden Hutchinson on defense. Yes. A lot of players that play in their position right. Aaron Glenn got them going in the right direction. This is a chance for the Cowboys to come out and play physical ball for second week in a row, clean up what they messed up last week, or most of it, and just compete. I just want the Cowboys to compete.
What's the game need to look like, Pat?
I mean, first and foremost, you got to stop the run, and we say that because that's the theme weekly, no matter what team you're talking about. But it's even more prevalent and pressing when you're talking about a backfield that features David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. For my money, that's the best running back duo in the entire NFL.
Yes.
But if you can stop that or at least bottle that up, then comes the task of knocking Jared Goff off his spot. Okay, so if you can knock Jared Goff off his spot, he'll give you opportunities for takeaways. He's 5 touchdowns right now to 4 interceptions, but 2 of those touchdowns came against the Seahawks. So that means before that game, he was 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He was struggling. The Cardinals, the Rams, and the Buccaneers all held that high-powered Detroit Lions offense to 2016, I believe, 26 points.
Right.
That makes a winnable game if your offense can punch the ball in after extending drives. So knock Jared Goff off his spot, but make sure that you're containing him on the edges and make him throw under duress, and he'll give you some opportunities, and I think that's what's going to decide the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Dallas obviously down a lot of different pass rushers right now. Jared Goff, last couple of years, has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL against the blitz. So those guys stepping up in the front 4 and generating pressure on their own, that's going to be a big thing.
Get your hands up because them crossing routes are coming.
There you go. That's exactly what it is. Really quickly here in just the last minute that we have, we'll go around George, Nate, and Pat. Prediction for the game coming up on Sunday.
Excuse me, I didn't hear what you said.
I know. I'm trying to cram it in here in the last minute.
You know, I am not taking the Cowboys to win this game, and I think that is, you know, we lose by 6.
Nate?
Come on, Nate. Come on, Nate.
Cowboys by 1.
There you go. Just like last year, Pat.
All the adversity in Pittsburgh, every possible reason for the Cowboys to drop that game, they didn't. The Detroit Lions should be heavily favored in this game and will, but I can't wrap my head around what will be a 4-game losing streak at home for the Cowboys. I feel like they buck up and figure to get this done. Defense might struggle with the pass rush, so Lions get 27, but the Cowboys get 30.
That does it for us here tonight on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. Thank you to George Teague for joining us. Follow him on social media at Teague Football. Thank you to Nate Newton, Patrick Walker from DallasCowboys.com. We will talk to you guys again next week on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Roll Tide.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this?